Ladies and gentlemen, damas y caballeros, I think we can all agree that being an adult just sucks. I miss those simple times when we would just sing songs and paint eggs. But when you're an adult, life is so complex. You have bills to pay, responsibilities, and so many distractions. However, despite all this complexity in the adult world, we can still make decisions to live a more simple life, to fight for our right, for simplicity in these complex times. So in this video, I want to share 5 different strategies that I use in my life to live a more simple life in these complex times. So let's begin. Number 1, strengthen your weak ties. In life, there are really 2 different classifications of relationships that we have. The first one is called strong ties, which are the close people in your life that you trust and can rely on, like family, friends, and coworkers. The second one is weak ties, which are people in your life that aren't strangers, but aren't close connections, like the barista or grocery cashier or your barber. We often put a lot of emphasis on maintaining these strong tie relationships in our lives, but in this complex world, it's almost like we've abandoned these weak tie relationships in our lives. We don't have as many of these small, insignificant interactions on a daily basis with people like the grocery store cashier or the barista at the coffee shop, or just a conversation with the hot dog lady on the street. In our complex world, we don't see the value as much in these weak tie relationships, but there has been study after study after study that shows how important it is to maintain these weak tie relationships, because these small insignificant conversations that you have on a daily basis bring you so much joy. And these people that are weak ties, they might have a completely different perspective than you do because they're not in your social circle, and they give you a different outlook in life. And more importantly, having weak tie relationships in your lives makes you feel part of a community. Life has gotten so complex that we no longer see the importance of these weak tie relationships. And in this complex world, we need to embrace weak ties. We need to embrace these people who play small roles in all of our lives, like a cashier or a barista or your barber. And even if it's uncomfortable, we need to initiate conversation to strengthen these weak ties, because when you do that, it leads to a more simplistic life. It creates a more human experience on a day-to-day basis that this complex world desperately needs. Number 2, help others. I just finished reading this book called The Book of Joy, and it's with the Dalai Lama and Archbishop Desmond Tutu, and please read this book. It is the most feel-good book you will ever read. But in the book, it's basically a conversation where these 2 men who have experienced so much in their lifetimes discuss joy and how we can achieve joy in our lives. And in the book, they talk about the key to finding joy in life is by helping others. In this complex world, we're taught, and we often try to seek joy or happiness in the material world. We even go as far sometimes as trying to pursue happiness by buying a new car or the latest gadget. But the thing about happiness is that happiness cannot be pursued. It's a byproduct of something else. The more we focus on ourselves and our own problems and our own issues, the more sad and depressed we become, because we have this very self-centered point of view in life. But the more we focus on others and the well-being of others, the more joy that we bring in our lives. And in the book, Archbishop Desmond Tutu mentions a word called Ubuntu, which means a person is a person through other persons. We have to help each other and take care of each other. The reason you can write is because someone taught you. The reason you can talk is because someone taught you. And so we can only be human together. Humans are social animals, and we can only survive when we're working together. And in these complex times where nice guys finish last, we need to move to a more simplistic way of living where we have the desire to help each other. And helping another person can be as simple as opening the door for a stranger, listening to someone when they feel sad, or write a letter of appreciation to a coworker. These small acts of kindness bring you so much joy in life and equal a better world. And in these complex times, if we do things to help each other, even in tiny ways, we're moving back to a more simplistic way of living that creates a more humane society. Number 3, Hakuna Matata. Now you might be thinking to yourself, Augustine, Hakuna Matata? Hakuna Matata? What's Hakuna Matata? Well, it means no worries for the rest of your days. That's actually not number 3. I just wanted to say that. Let's do the real number 3. Number 3, limit your options. About a month ago, I went to New York City to visit some friends for a long weekend. And one night, we decided to go to Chinatown to get something to eat. So when we got to Chinatown, we were looking for a different restaurant. And let me tell you something. It was one of the most stressful experiences that I have ever had searching for a restaurant because there were so many options. In Chinatown, you just looked around and said, should I go here? Should I go here? Should I go here? New York City is a stressful place. I live in Colorado Springs, which is pretty small. The area that I live in is really small, and there's not that many options of places to eat. And after that Chinatown experience, I had this appreciation of less options. We live in this world of abundance where we just have so many options. I mean, Amazon gives you millions of choices. Uber Eats broadens your restaurant search. And the grocery store has 15 different types of toilet paper. I mean, that is what capitalism is all about. However, there is just a beauty in having less options because you don't get as overwhelmed in choices and it doesn't lead to all this stress in the decision process. And in this complex society, I find it important to limit your options and do things like have your go-to restaurants, shop more in person with smaller selections, or even stick to what you know. And by limiting your options, it allows you to live a more simple life where you're not worrying and feeling overwhelmed of, did I make the right decision out of all these options? And in this complex world, I think it's important to just go back to the basics and not overwhelm yourself in this world of abundance. Number 4, guard what comes in your mind. I've been reading a lot lately just for inspiration. Another book I just read is this book. It's called The Age of Surveillance Capitalism, and it is a very depressing book and a very difficult read. But it talks about big data and companies like Google and Facebook and how their algorithms are getting so complex that these algorithms are beginning to sculpt our view of what is real. And after reading that book, and I read about 3 other books on that subject, I ended up deleting the only social media I have outside of YouTube, and that is Facebook, because I realized it wasn't providing me any value in my life. It was just sucking me in and feeding me all these negative things that didn't bring me any joy. And after deleting it, it has improved my life. And we live in this attention economy where you're just being sucked in left and right with news stories, cat videos, and sponsored content articles. And the more I research algorithms and big data, the more I see the importance of guarding what comes in your mind. And I don't deny it, I am profiting off this attention economy. But I don't think it's all bad. I think you just have to be selective on what type of content you consume and guard what comes in your mind and avoid things like doom scrolling, YouTube rabbit holes, and depressing news stories. When you guard what comes in your mind, you avoid all these negative thoughts and all these negative emotions and all this manipulative content that can affect your behavior. And in this complex world, we need to guard what comes in our mind and approach it in a more simplistic view with less information and less worrying. Number 5, ya mismo. Ya mismo is an expression in Spanish. However, Spanish is a much more diverse language than English is, where you could have a Mexican person and a Chilean person talking and they don't understand each other. So let's just say that ya mismo is an Ecuadorian expression. And when I lived in Ecuador, I really just learned to embrace this idea of ya mismo. And ya mismo is used with time, where you would ask somebody, when is the parade starting? And they would say, ya mismo. Or you would ask, when are you going to arrive? And they would respond, ya mismo. And ya mismo means, I don't know. But don't worry, because eventually it'll work out. In the United States, we stress out so much when it comes to time. We have schedules packed with events, to-do lists, and productivity apps. But as we become more productive in our lives, we're just more stressed out. We need to embrace this idea of ya mismo and not worry too much about things in this complex world, because it'll eventually work out. So, next time your boss asks you, when will those TPS reports be ready? You say, ya mismo. Well, maybe not in that situation, but you can incorporate ya mismo in other areas of your life. You get it? Ya mismo. But don't worry too much in this complex world because things just always seem to work out. And with that, muchas gracias. Que tenga un buen día. Video 96. Nos vemos, chicos.